have decided to do a video on little watch tools. So first of all, I will take the tools out one at a time and just try to explain them quickly. So the first set of tools here are hand removers. So these tools are used to grab underneath the hands of a watch and just pop them up. So that's pretty simple. Then I've got 3 of these, which are, these are bench keys. So these are for winding pocket watches, etc. So these are bench keys. Then you have to have an opener. So this is a watch case opener, and then you just slide that into the edge of the back of the watch and you pop it open. Then you need some device to actually put the hands back on. So I have 3 of these different sizes, and you put that on the top and you push the hand down, and you use these for aligning and replacing the hands. So that's that tool. And then I have this here, which is used for just for cleaning dust out of the watch movement after I'm finished repairing it. It's a pretty handy one. It's nice. You're going to need a pair of scissors of sorts for working on the watch, and you're going to need some of this paper, which is watch paper, very thin. I'll use to put the parts down after I've cleaned the watch using some type of lighter fluid usually. Then you're going to need some kind of a case like that. So this is the case used to put the parts in as you disassemble the watch so they stay organized. Then you need some Rodico. So this is Rodico, which is Watchmakers Putty, and you stretch it out and fold it over until it finds a clean spot, and it's used for picking things up. It's also used for cleaning the face of the watch. It's also used for moving. If you want to move a watch hand onto a watch very carefully, you can stick it on and just move it over like that. You can also remove oils from the watch with this by dabbing it where the oil is. All kinds of use. You need to have Rodico as a watchmaker. Then you need some pegwood, and this is pegwood here. You sharpen the end of the pegwood up, and then you use the pegwood for cleaning out jewel holes. And it's also used for other things, but mainly I use it for cleaning out jewel holes. I also use a toothpick to hold watch parts in place while I clean the watch. Then I have this tool here. I just found this in a kind of a hobby shop. I use this to just kind of move the pivots around until I find the holes when I'm reassembling the watch sometimes. So I'll screw down the plate and then use this to just kind of maneuver the pivots a bit because I can get in from the side. I have another one at an angle as well that is also very useful. I use this sometimes for the same reason. And then you need a some kind of a brush. I use this when I'm cleaning a watch to actually clean the parts, and when I'm using my lathe I actually use this to take the material off the lathe so I can keep cleaning it. And then if you want to get a big case opener, with a nice hefty handle, you can have one of these, and that way you can get a grip on it for those hard to open handles. So I'm moving as fast as I can here. So then you need some of these pin vices, or not pin vices, I remember what these called anyway, pin vice I think, and these are used for grabbing the end of stems and all kinds of different things you can use this for. So very, very handy. So I have a whole set of these things. I also have these here, which are, it's an older version of it, and the same thing here. You can use these if I'm fixing a balance. I can actually grab the balance screw and then push this forward, and it'll tighten around the screw. See, that lip opens up and tightens around the screw, and then I can turn that watch. I can turn the balance screw, or I can get into awkward places and pick things up just by pushing this, and it's pretty tight grip. And these are vintage, and I've got a whole series of these as well. Then you need some eyepieces as well to attach to your glasses to work close up on watches. And then if you're putting pallet stones back into pallets, you need this tool here to hold it in place while you heat this up and put the pallet stones back in place. Then I'm just moving really fast here. This is a pair of tweezers I have here, and tweezers are a whole different subject. Some tweezers are used for for chewing up hairsprings, bending hairsprings, and some tweezers are just used up for picking up parts. So now I'll go into my big bin here, and so this here is a, I always say this wrong, but I call it Dormise, but it's Dormz or something like that gauge. And this is used when you're making a balance staff or doing lathe work and you need measurements. So this moves with a major graduation here and then a small one here. So you can measure the smallest of increments on this side and it just magnifies it on this side. So I use this solely, I think, when I'm making a watch, a balance staff on my lathe, because it's fast and then you're just using the parts themselves to friction fit the stuff. So I'm going to move this stuff out of the way, and as I go down into my collection of stuff, so this here, I'm not going to take this out of the bag, but this here is used for pulling off a cannon pinion. So the mouth opens like that, you press the handle down, you put it over the cannon pinion like this, then you kind of wiggle this until it fits, and then you press it down, which grabs the cannon pinion, and as you pull up, this part pulls up and this part goes down, and it just removes the cannon pinion safely. I have read in places that that's a dangerous thing to use one of these, but then whatever. And just a general pair of snippers here that are used, and they've got the spring on this side here, so you can get some springy dingy action on the end, and a cover on this side to protect them from evil. So then I have this here, which is a spring winder. So this is used, or sorry, a stem winder. So this is used for, you grab the end of the you push on this here and you grab the end of the stem, and then you can just wind it like that. So I find this useful for smaller pocket watches and watches as well, but usually for smaller pocket watches it'll work nicely. So, and that's just as opposed to using your fingers to do the same job. This here is for pounding out a, see, get this line properly. These are used in a staking set for pounding out the balance staff from the balance itself. So, and I made a video on these earlier. So you end up putting that in the staking set, and then you use these stakes here, and then you hit down, and then the balance staff pops out. So that's what these are for. It's a mixture of tools. This tool here is used for doing work on hands, watch hands. I have another tool for doing that as well. So I'm into the multitude of small tools here. So this one here, you simply unscrew this a bit and then do that. You put the hands in here like this, and then you're able to use a file, and that can increase the size of the hand itself as you need to, and use a staking set if you want to decrease the size of the hand, the hole for the hand. So this is for working on watch hands. I think 99% of this stuff is in watch repair books. These are little pieces of shellac that you use when you're going to put on a new impulse jewel. So that'll melt onto the hole, and you'll be able to put the impulse jewel on. So I have a bag of shellac that should last about 4,000 years. That's a huge bag of shellac. This is pretty handy little pliers. These pliers are used for, these here are used for two reasons. If you see, there's a little U-shaped lip in here. So I use these when I have a mainspring trying to grab an arbor with a mainspring. I need to tighten that mainspring around that arbor. So I'll just grab the spring and push like this, and it'll tighten, it'll bend that mainspring ever so slightly. If it needs a big bend, it's a good idea to heat up the mainspring first before you do this, or else you'll break that mainspring, and then you'll be calling me up because you'll be mad at me. So this is just another vise or clamp or whatever for clamping onto different type of materials. So clamp, vise, gotta make sure the names are right, I guess. This is used, this one here is supposedly used for picking up parts that are angled. I think this is, I'm not sure why this has got the little grooves in it here. I'm trying to remember what this is for. Anyway, it's probably pretty useful. Let me think. It might be written on it. It anti-acid. No, it's not written on it. Made in Pakistan. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's another pair of tweezers that I have. When I figure out how to, I don't think I've ever used these, so I'd say that goes into the pile of useless stuff. These little puppy dogs are used for removing the collet on a bounce, the hairspring collet on a bounce, and it's two different sizes. So you slide that underneath the collet and you pop it up. So that's for that. This tool here, I don't even know what it's for. I bought this with a bunch of other stuff, and if anybody can help me identify this, then great. So this is totally useless up till now. This one here I've used a lot, a boatload. This is also used for, see where my camera is, this is also used for mainly for doing work on hands. So you shove the watch hand where the hole is on this side, and then I use, in order to make the hole bigger, I gotta reach back for a second and grab some stuff. I use these, and then I just put that in and I twist it, and I measure and twist until the hole size gets to the size I need. So these are very, very handy. You need a set of these absolutely useful, use them all the time. So I'll get back to my other stuff in a second. So the other thing I use this for is when I'm making a leather belt for my lathe, I use this to hold the belt in place, two pieces like that, and I sew the belt together with fishing line. So that's what this is used for. These are easy to get and used for opening the back of a watch. No issue there, pretty easily understood. This one here I use quite a lot, the Magic Roller Remover. So you can do this with a staking set. This little baby, if you have a watch, you have a balance staff, you can actually put the balance staff with the balance in here, tighten this up, crank that tight, and then you use a stake on this side here and you punch out the roller. So the Magic Roller Remover, I've actually used that I think every time I've changed or made a balance staff. I have a tap here. I'm trying to avoid tools that are that you don't really need to see or explain. This here tool is used for measuring the size of a hole. So what happens here is you stick the end into the hole, and then the result, the sizing result on this size, it shows how big it is right here. So that's how that's used. So it's a very unique little tool. So it's the depth of a hole. I shouldn't say the size. It's the depth of this hole. So that's what this tool is used for. Make sure that focus is right on this. So I probably should focus it up just a bit. Let's see if I got other stuff here. These tools here are for working on hairsprings. So I have a whole set of these, and it's just for bending, twisting, angling, all kinds of stuff to work on hairsprings. I keep this in a little container here because the ends are very sensitive. So they'll cry if I move them. So this is a roller remover. So this is for the roller table itself. So what you do is you take this end here and you just edge it in where the balance staff is, and you squeeze it, and it squeezes out the roller table. So that's for a roller table, for the removal of a roller table. And I have another tool here I use for removing of the roller table, which is this tool here. So in this case here, you slide the balance on this side, so the balance ends up being on the top. The roller table just ends up on the edge. Then you take one of these stakes and you just pound straight down. So this was in a factory, so a watch factory for removing a roller table. And this here tool was used to set hands in place. So I don't recommend, you don't really need that tool, just looked very interesting. And this tool here was also used for doing work on hands and other things. So this is again a rare tool, but really not used that often. And then this tool here was used for putting a punch mark on the balance, right? So you'd know exactly where the balance, where the hairspring needed to line up. So this is an interesting tool, but again, not of much use to the average watchmaker, given that you're an average watchmaker. Now moving right along, they've got this tool here. I'm kind of dying to see what it is. Oh yeah, there it is. So this sleeve wrench, so this is used for dealing with the crown on a pocket watch, and sleeve wrench and removing that that crown and stem part. So that's a sleeve wrench. Actually, I haven't used this much. Rarely use it. These are just winders, stem winders. So I got a series of these, and these are used for winding. I said stem winders, I meant mainspring winders. In this case here, I'll just show you quickly. So you have your one end of it here, and then you have the other end, the what do they call it, the serious end. And what you do is you take the mainspring and you wind it onto here like this, bam 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 bam. So then it's wound into the end here, and then you go where the barrel is, put it over at the top, and you push it into the barrel. So this is what that's used for, and I have a whole series of these as well. Here's a bunch more different sizes for watches and pocket watches, you name it, as I keep rushing through here. This plate is used if you want to thread a stem. So I'm making a stem for watch, and you want to put thread on the stem, and you just like that, rotate it, and away you go. And there's a whole, I think I made a video on how to do that too. And these are just drills, HSS high-speed drills. Don't use these much. That's for crown work. This little baby here I use all the time. So this here is used for putting an impulse pin back into a roller table. So you take the roller table, you squeeze it into here, and there's little grooves on the inside, and then you put some shellac on the top, and then you take this and you heat, see how that's burnt? You heat that up with a lighter, match lighter or whatever, and then the heat convection, I think it's called, goes down the end here, and it melts the shellac, and at that point in time you put the jewel in, and then you cool it off, and the jewel's in place. So I use this actually quite a lot. So it's a really handy tool. I don't think you could do watch work without that. This is a set of hand removers. I tend to use the removers I just showed you in the original. So these ones here, you put on top like this, and then you press these together to pop the hands up. Supposedly a little bit safer to use, but I find that the manual ones are much better. If I use a piece of paper and I wedge a piece of paper in, that'll keep it safe, right? Again, these are more sleeve wrenches here that I have from before, a set of sleeve wrenches. I have two sets of these, and I have never used them, but they're used for punching holes in a barrel. So if you have the watch barrel here, and you've got the little notch in the inside, and you've got a sort of a hook, and you want to wrap your the mainspring around that. These are used for punching that, and they're also used for punching holes in mainsprings, although I've been unsuccessful to use these things. I have two sets because they're kind of big and cool, so I got another set. This here device, I still haven't figured out what this is for, but it's got little tiny holes on either side here, and I know someday when I figure out what this is for, it'll be great. It might be for studying a hairspring, but I think I went online and I asked a bunch of people what it was for, and I got 0 answers. So I'm going to keep researching this tool and figure out what to use it for. I have not used it yet, so that means it is officially useless. This is a tool I made to open the back of a Hebdomas pocket watch. So I made that tool. I have a bunch of gauges for measuring crystals, size of crystals and stuff. So these are just common gauges you put in the watch, and you measure the crystal. You don't really need those. All you need is a micrometer, and you're fine. And same with these. These are also gauges that are used for doing that, measuring. These are spring sizes, mainspring sizes, and this tool is used for measuring pivots as well. So you just slide the pivot in there, but I don't recommend it because you'll break the pivot. This is a pretty cool tool. This tool is actually got measurements on the side, and it's for measuring the size of a hole. So if you have a hole in a pocket watch plate and you want to measure the size of that hole, you slide that in, and there's a little marking there, and that's how deep it is. It's a very dainty kind of tool. It's all metal, and it's very well made, so probably made in Switzerland. This tool is really useful, I find, and you can use it for all kinds of stuff. I've used it to take corrosion off of a battery end, so that's what it looks like there, and it's got a trying to get the end off. Well, on the inside, It's got a, oh, there it is there. This is a nylon cord. I believe it's nylon cord. It's very tough, and that's used. You just scrape it like that, and it'll clean all that stuff up, grime and grit and grind and stuff like that. So I think I need to focus better. We just focus this. Hopefully this whole thing wasn't out of focus the whole time. Anyway, so that's for that. So that's to get rid of that grime. I think maybe the whole thing was just falling down slowly on me. So this is a very useful tool, and this is a Bergeron 6240. So I've used this a boatload of times and all kinds of stuff. Every time my wife says she needs me to fix the grandchildren something or other, I end up using that tool. So this here is for measuring hand sizes, and it's kind of a neat tool. Here it is here, and then you just slide the hands down. There's little markings on here, and that'll be used for measuring hand sizes. Yeah, I'm actually hoping this whole video isn't foggy. This is a hairspring holder, and all this is if you can slide the pocket watch and the if you're working on a hairspring, you can throw the hairspring in there, and the collet throws down there, and you can do work on the hairspring. So that's an anchor hairspring holder. I've only used it once, so I guess I never had any great desire to hold a hairspring. This little tool, it's a bench tool, and I still haven't figured out what it's used for. I bought it because it was neat, and I think I might be able to find out what it's used for, but it's a punch of some sort. So anyway, that's what that is for. And then I'm going to just pause for a second, put some of this stuff away, and go get some more stuff. Okay, this tool is used for winding in a pocket watch mainspring, and this is held in a vise, and you place these on the end, and then you commence to wind on the pocket watch mainspring. This is an Anvil, just used for general watch repair. You can do anything with this thing. And then the brother of the Anvil, I guess, this little baby here, I use it all the time. I use it when I'm doing work on balance staffs, and I've got to basically put the balance staff somewhere, or I've got to do some work on, or punch something out or whatever. You have to have one of these, very useful. And of course you have to have a watch stand of some sort, right, which is this here, like a watch movement holder. And then if you want to basically do work on the strap, the watch strap, you use that. This little tool is used as a plunger. It's basically a suction cup to take the back of a screw-on watch back, generally for a pocket watch. Then you have, just hang on a second till I find the next thing. Then you have this here, which is a stone used for sharpening screwdrivers, etc. You can probably sharpen some lathe stuff on that as well. I'm not going to get into lathe equipment. So you do need a set of files to do watch work, because you never know when you get a file, something off, a burr is there, and I use a set of files for that. This tool is used for adjusting a balance staff if it's not true, and here it is here. And so you put the balance, not the balance staff, but the balance in here, and then you use this arm here. You're just getting it as close to the edge of that balance as possible, and then you're turning the balance to see if it's true to flat. So you're looking at if it's true to flat, and you can look at it this way to see if it's true to round as well. So that's what this is for. And then you use this little tool here to grab the balance itself, and then to move it around. So I have actually done that quite a few times. It's a necessary evil to actually adjust balances sometimes when you buy a pocket watch and it's worn. So that's a very nice tool and in excellent condition. Alright, I got some more tools here. These are jewel hole, these are metric level gauge for jewel holes. So these little puppy dogs you stick into the jewel hole to see what size the jewel hole is. These are invaluable. It took me a long time to find a set of these when I'm actually making a new, replacing a jewel and trying to figure out what the hole is. This here is a Mainspring Winder Set as well. I have not used this, but I'm sure it works quite well. That's a Mainspring Winder Set. Just bring this stuff out one at a time. Okay. This is for doing work on pivots. This is for repivoting. So you're using this to do the repivoting, and you're using this device here to spin spin the balance or whatever you have that needs to be repivoted. So it's a pivoting tool. This tool is nothing. These are actually gears. No, these are crowns. So these are a set of watch crowns. Not a tool at all. I apologize. This tool here is used for tightening a cannon pinion. So there it is there. It's a nicely done tool. So in this case here, you adjust this right here to the right size of the cannon pinion. You're moving it back and forth like that. Laying the cannon pinion down on that, and then you're putting this little tiny needle here inside the cannon pinion so you don't crush the cannon pinion, and then you use that to tighten that cannon pinion. So it's a cannon pinion adjustment tool, which is kind of cool. Alright, moving right along, this is a Bergeon micrometer. It's got a base on it. Let me just see if I can open this up quickly. This is what it looks like. So it's a very nice bench micrometer, so very useful for measuring all kinds of stuff. So you need a micrometer of some sort. I also have a digital micrometer. I have a Victor bench blower, but I won't bother showing you that. It's nothing, no big deal. This is part of the lathe stuff. So this is a tool used for finishing off pivots on balance staffs. Okay, so, and I won't get into that. It's actually a whole other series of discussion when you talk about lathe tools. So this tool here, one of my favorites of all, this tool here is used for, it looks like it's a little bit low right now, but it is used for regulating a watch. So I'm timing a watch. In this case I've lowered it a bit because it's let me just pull that out for a second. I believe I did a video on this as well, so let me just raise this up a bit like so, like that, just so it touches the glass. So like this, and then you just align it a bit like that, and then what you're doing here is you're doing that, and you're ensuring that where you've pinched the spring is in the right position, that these two are synchronized. So that's what this is for. I'll lower that a bit again and put it back in the box. So this was very hard to get a hold of. It was a great find, and there's a gentleman in Winnipeg, Canada, who provided this to me at a very reasonable price. This is kind of neat. It's a Hora Swiss Turbo, the old Hora Swiss Turbo. So this thing, like this, you put your quartz watch in the middle, you press this button, and it actually causes your watch to turn. So you'll see the second hand spinning around when that happens. And what that does is loosen up that watch movement for you. Okay, more tools. So this is a depthing tool, not much use. 2 gears, one on this side, one on that side, and use them to see if the gears will mesh properly given the size of the gear and the pivots and everything else. So don't use that much. These are undercutters for balances, for doing balance work. So if you're going to cut material off the back of balance screws, then you use this, and that's for poising a balance, and this does the exact same thing. And then I have what do we got here? I don't need that. I've got tools for actually working on the crown. So this is for reaming out crowns, which is fitting crowns onto your watch, which is kind of useful. I've used that before. Let me move that over here a bit so I can get back in here. Okay, these calibers are an absolute must. You have to have one of these. So you put the balance in here, you move this arm here as close to the balance as possible, you turn the balance, and you see where it's true or not. It's kind of like I showed you earlier with the other one. So I have one set like that, and then I have another set that looks like this, and you put this into a bench vise. So I have a bench vise. I won't bring it up here because you know what a bench vise looks like. These are screw cutters for balances, and this again is for removing material from the balance, and it's all different sizes as well for balance screws. And this is a poising tool. So I've got 2 or 3 of these poising tools, but So this is like when you get your tire, you put weights on your tire in your car. You put the balance on here with you can usually leave the hairspring, but I take the hairspring off. So you get the balance and the balance staff, and you've got it rolling on the pivots, and you puff a little bit of puff of air, and it spins around, and when it gets to a low point it stops, and then you determine whether it stops in the same place more than once. If it does, you got too much weight on the bottom, and you have to put more balance washers on the top, or you've got to cut material off the bottom. Anyway, there's novels, there's books written on how to do that, and what it's for and everything else. So that's that. All right, this tool is used to hold a watch movement in place, usually a pocket watch because of its size. You could probably also hold a watch movement. What it's good for is for holding that watch movement in place while you crank the back off to get the back off the watch. This tool is used to take off a plastic crystal, right? And the theory is you put the crystal in there like this, and then these things grab the crystal on the edge, depending on the size, and it removes the crystal or places it back in. I have never successfully used this. I just used a crystal press, and I've got big tools, but this video is not about big tools, so I got a lot of big tools I can show you later. This is a watch demagnetizer. You need one of these. This is an older one, so old the bottom just came off. Anyway, I did some work on this. I think I did some welding or soldering on this to make it work properly. I think I got to just glue this back on. Anyway, you press the button here and stand back because it's pretty old. So I have another watch demagnetizer that's a lot better than this, but you needed a watch demagnetizer of some sort. This is the world's smallest compass, and it's used to determine whether you've got any magnetic current going through the watch or not. I hate to do it on this pocket watch because if it does, I'll want to. And it does seem to have, it does seem to be magnetically charged, or there's a giant chunk of metal in the pocket watch that is causing this to happen. Doesn't really work that well on older pocket watches, but it does work very well on watches. Not a tool, but a whole boatload of jewels. So you're going to need jewels to do work, jeweling work on your watch. That's absolutely necessary. And then I have these, which are, let me see if I can open this up here. Yeah, so these are used for opening up the jewel setting, right? And these are, you basically put this in the jewel setting, and then you open, then you turn, open, turn, open, turn. And you make sure they're well oiled before you do that. So these are pretty useful. And then I have another set for, hopefully this is the right set. Yeah, used for closing the jewel setting, this here. And then I have another set here, and I use these a lot for closing the jewel setting as well. So these are used to close the jewel setting as well. So pretty handy. You just change the bits on the end, and they're kind of conic in nature, and then you're rubbing the outside of the jewel to burnish the jewel in. So that's pretty useful. And then I have this little ruler here. So this is to measure the size of pivots. So I would say you absolutely need one of these. This is a Burrell one. Costs you around $300, so it's not cheap. And it has all of usually the pivot sizes go down to 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, or 14 for pocket watches. So you start off with these sizes, and as you remove material from the pivot using a stone, you end up getting down to these sizes, and you know you've got the absolute right size. So that's absolutely necessary. Just saw this. It's another set of bench keys in case my other set of bench keys goes tits up. I'll use these bench keys in the future. So that's bench keys. You need a pair of magnifying glasses. So you go to the drugstore, you buy a pair of ×3 so you can get really close. And then I flip these over the top when I'm doing work on watches, and they work really well. And that's much better than using one of these loops that tend to, you can stick it in your face and they tend to move around a bit. So I use the other one instead. And then you get yourself a good set of screwdrivers, as I have here. Make sure they're sharp and they work well. So that's Bergeon screwdrivers. I should be able to pronounce it, seeing that I'm half Swiss. And you need some cloth or whatever. I use a typical eye cloth here for finishing the back of a pocket watch or doing whatever. So as I mentioned earlier, I've got a boatload of different types of tweezers. I've got some good brass tweezer sets here. They're non-magnetic, so I use these typically. And then you've got specialized tweezers. This is for doing hairspring work. And I believe these tweezers are for removing a collet. Sure, I don't think it's a hairspring collet, but removing maybe a roller table or something. Oh no, actually, I think it's a canyon pinion. You take this down like that, and it's vintage stuff. So I haven't really used these tweezers yet. They're kind of cool, but I haven't used them. A pair of tweezers I typically use are these ones right here. They make sure the tips are absolutely accurate. That way you're not grabbing parts and they're pinging away on you. So, and then you hold your tweezers in your hand like that, and then you can move parts around and pick parts up and what have you. So this is my has been my video on small tools and what you need for watchmaking. There's a bunch. I think I've missed some tools on doing work on straps and stuff. I do have pliers and hammers and stuff that are also part of watchmaking. You need a sharp knife there, and I usually use the knife to sharpen the end of this piece of wood, and that's when I'm cleaning out the pivot holes. So that's pretty much what I use this knife for, is to keep that piece of wood as sharp as heck for cleaning out pivot holes. And then you need some pliers. I got some rounded pliers here for bending springs. I've got these pliers here are also for shaping springs. And as you can see, let me see if I can show you these really quickly. As you can see, there's a, I got that angle there. So if I've got a pretty heavy mainspring and I want to shape it, I can use these pliers here to do that. And I have used them before, so they're very good. They work quite well. And I also picked up these pliers, which are exactly for the same reason, or it's good English, for shaping shaping springs as well, mainsprings as well. And then a set of needle nose pliers is a must for all kinds of needle nosy things. Oh, interesting! I have this kit here. This is used for taking dents out of pocket watches. So I should really make a video on that if I haven't. But you screw on the different shapes here, and then you just use a hammer and you go pop, 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 and you pound this very slowly as you move it side to get rid of a dent in a pocket watch. It's brilliant. It works extremely well. That's my hammer. So that's my MC hammer. So I use that with my staking sets and all kinds of other stuff. And then I have a watch back opener that I use if the watch back is giving me real problems. So I'll ream in on that and I'll hold it in that holder I showed you earlier. And I have various other small tools that I use to work on pocket watches and watches, of course. So these are the set. Oh, one more. I didn't see this. This is a set of keys for some of my older pocket watches. So if you're going to wind a Henry Peck pocket watch like this, ta-da, instant pocket watch, just add water, and you've got this as an opening, then you have to use a set of keys like these to actually wind the watch and to set the time in the front of that watch. So this is an 1880, I think, pocket watch from way back. So I also have this little one here, which is also requires a key wind like that. So you need a set of keys for doing a key wind. So I'm not sure if I've forgotten anything, but for now, that's my video on small watch as I look around my room. Small watch tools. Yeah, it should be enough. Anyway, thanks a lot and hope you enjoyed it. Please leave some comments. Thanks a lot.